Next, images of the Auschwitz survivor Simone Weil have been vandalized here in Paris in an anti-Semitic incident. Swastikas were drawn over Madame Weil's painted face. Simone Weil is revered by the French as well as surviving the concentration camps. She then went on to have a political career of great influence and campaigned notably for human rights, women's rights rather, notably on the issue of abortion. Now, this incident is sadly just one of many. Anti-Semitic attacks are up by 74% here in France. Earlier on this issue, I spoke with Jonathan Afri from the French Jewish organization, the CRIF.
Anti-Semitism has been increasing over the last 20 years. In the 90s, we had only several dozens of anti-Semitic attacks every year. But now we have several hundreds of anti-Semitic attacks every year. It means that anti-Semitism multiplied by 10 and never came back to its former level. We really have the feeling that anti-Semitism starts with the Jews, but never ends with the Jews. So we want to explain to our French citizens that when Jews are targeted, it's the whole French society which is targeted.
And I think anybody with a civilized brain will totally agree with what you're saying. There was an incident involving some yellow vest protesters a few weeks back when they harassed a Jewish woman on public transport, apparently a concentration camp survivor herself. When you hear of things like that and the kind of anti-Semitic remarks being made by some protesters, not all, but some protesters, how does that make you feel?
Well, we cannot accuse the Yellow Vest movement itself to be responsible for anti-Semitism in France, of course. But what we know for sure is that the Yellow Vest movement enables some people to hide inside the movement to commit anti-Semitic acts. And as every time in history, when you have masses in the streets, you have also bad things coming with that. And anti-Semitism, conspiracy theories, for instance, are for sure higher among the Yellow Vest members than among the rest of the population. It doesn't mean that the Yellow Vest movement is itself responsible for it, but for sure there is a question regarding extremism among some of their members.
Jonathan Arfi there of the French Jewish organization, the CRIF. People tend to point at the far right on these kind of issues. The far right leader in France, Marine Le Pen of the Rassemblement National, formerly the Front National, has denounced what she's called a surge in anti-Semitic acts. And, she added, the desecration of Christian places of worship. And the police here in France say that 5 churches were desecrated around the country last week. Now, Kylian Mbappe has become the victim of racism and anti-Semitism in one foul graffiti found on public transport here in Paris. Obscene words in a graffiti condemning the star footballer of being a friend of the Jews. Another example of this 74% rise in anti-Semitic incidents. Mbappe, of course, a national hero after helping France win the World Cup last June. That's it for this bulletin.